Hi guys, good morning. So we're now looking at these budgets now in terms of sales and production, and really this very first area is almost an integration of both budgets in terms of sales and production because they actually give you how many items you intend to sell. So the whole idea here is that you've been told that you need to sell 18,000 units. This actually is irrelevant, this one, but the point is that you know you have to sell. But the question, so we know we need to sell 18,000, so we need to make some things. So we know we want to sell 18,000, whatever demand. We currently have 1,050 units in-house. We need to go out there and make some. So we need to make, they tell you to make 20,000. So in effect, you will have 20,100 and 21,050 when you finish them together. You're going to get rid of 18 and you're going to have closing inventory of 3,050. So they tell you clearly um, what your situation is in terms of closing inventory of finished closing inventory of finished goods. I want to stress that. So you know you need to make 20,000 um, uh, units. So I suppose the first question here is we move naturally from here. So we've gone from the sales budget technically to a production budget to now a raw materials, if you like, budget in terms of buying in the raw materials we need for this. So let's look at that. So the question here is if you want to make 20,000 units, you need, they tell you in the question, each unit produced requires 2.5 kilograms. You need 2.5 kilograms, and that takes you to 50,000 kilograms. So you need to have ready to make these products 50,000 kilograms. So what they do is they give you a next schedule here in terms of raw materials. Raw materials. You currently have 2,200 available. You're going to buy some, use, of course, 50,000, and you should have a closing inventory of 35,000 kilograms left. So this budget that you're seeing right here is a raw materials budget. So I think this question actually does turn up in the exam, and it looks exactly like this. Is laid out like this. So you now have to think, right, listen, if I need to buy in a certain amount of raw material, um, and that will add into what I had initially. Then I'm going to get rid of 50,000 of it, and I'll have 35,000 left. So I think, I remember Natalie doing it in this kind of interesting way. I think this is the way she did it. She said, well, if I have closing inventory of 35,000 and I needed 50,000, if you like, for production, well, you could argue that I needed to have at least, well, 85,000 because, that's what I need, and that's what I also need to make sure I have left. But I already have 2,200 already, so I don't need to buy this. I need this for production. I also need this for the closing inventory for the next production schedule. So technically, you must have bought in 35,000 plus 50,000 minus 2,200, which is therefore 82,800. So you have 82,000, you bought in 82,800 kilograms, which gave you a subtotal of 85,000 kilograms because you then used 50,000 and you had 35,000 left. And you can always test this. You can always go yourself and check out what's going on. So it says here that you bought this at a finished price, a price of £1.50 per kilogram. So let's do that. 82,800 times £1.50 is 1,242,200, and therefore that gives us a subtotal of 3,080, which is 127,280. Right, good. Now, it does tell us the closing inventory is to be valued at budgeted purchase price. So the argument here is that you can see they're telling you they're using a kind of first in, first out type of approach, right? So the argument, therefore, is in terms of valuing this closing inventory will be that I'm going to value this as well at £1.50, right? This 35,000. So this 35,000 is going to be valued at £1.50, which is 52,500. That is my closing inventory. So it must naturally mean that if you had a subtotal of 127,280 to start with and you end with 52,800, the value of this production will be the difference, because you're basically subtracting this from this to get this. You must have used all of this. So the opening inventory plus, if you like, um, £50,000 worth of stock, the opening inventory plus 50,000 worth of stock to get left with 35,000 worth of stock. So I will now find that out as well, which is 127,280 minus 52,500, which takes us to 74,780. So that's how you work this. That's how you play with this. But again, all I'm doing here is just understanding that I have opening inventory plus purchases. I bought some. I now have a subtotal. What do I now have in house first before I release any of that raw material to be used in production? Because I need to make 20,000 units. It's very clear. And for that, I will need, of course, they tell you at 2.5 kilograms per raw material. So the tables can look initially confusing, but hopefully this has helped for materials. I don't think I have enough here for labor in terms of space, in terms of the information. But let's just go to the question and see that. And so we can see here that let's look at the question here. So it says here that each item, here we are. Let's just actually I can now sniper this out as well. Snip this out. Forgive me, sniper. I can now actually I don't want to. Well, you've got this there. Okay, so yeah, so you can see the answer here for this. You can see that, right? And now we can go ahead and do, actually, you know what, I'll just do labor on the actual page itself. So we can see here that it tells us that we need, it says each item takes 6 minutes to produce. Remember, I'm dealing with production now. I'm in production and I'm producing 20,000 units. 20,000 units. That's what I'm doing. And each item needs 6 minutes to produce. So I'm going to multiply that by 6. But although I'm working in hours, I'm going to turn that into hours. So 2,000 units, 20,000 units, forgive me, times 6 minutes, which is 20 times 6 is 120. So 120,000 minutes. And divide that by, of course, 60 minutes because I want to turn this into hours. Yes, 120 divided by 60 gives us 2,000 hours. So we have 2,000 hours. So we need 2,000 hours for production. That's what we need. We need 2,000 hours for production. That's the point. So I'll just make that note here. I need 2,000 hours. Okay, no problem. Then it says here that I have 8 staff who work 200 basic hours. So I have 8 staff currently at 200 basic hours. So that's 1,600. So currently I have 1,600 hours at £16, if you like, in terms of getting this job done at 16. So 1,600 times 16 is 25,600. 25,600. But you need 2,000 hours to get this job done. So you need to bring in an extra 400 hours, right? Because the question clearly tells you to produce. It's all about production. To produce those 20,000 units, because everything centers around production. Labor is about production, right? This was raw material, so you don't need anything here now when you're talking about labor. It's producing the amount for that month. That 20,000 includes the ones that would be left for closing inventory. So this is the sole figure you are interested in, 20,000. So 20,000, and like I said here, what you've done is to work out the amount of time it takes to produce those 20,000 units. And that's, of course, 120,000 divided by 60, so that's 2,000 hours. We now say, okay, then what do we have available to us? So just go into the room. You have 8 staff, 200 hours, so that's 1,600 hours. That's 16. And then you will, well, if you need 2,000 hours, you've done 1,600, you will need an extra 400 hours at 400 hours, of course. And it says here this is paid time and a half. So you could do it in 2 steps. Technically, you could first do it at 16. Well, I mean, time and a half is basically 24, isn't it? So you're basically paying them at 24, um, £24 an hour. So 400 hours times 24, 400 times 24, which is 9,600. 9,600. It says time and a half, so it's £16 plus half of 16, which is 8, which is why I have 16 plus 8, which is why I have 24. So I have 400 at that, and so you have 25,600 plus 9,600 plus 25,600, which gives us a total of 35,200. 35,200. And the question simply tells us that you have variable overheads that are recovered on total labor hours. So we have total labor hours of 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours because that's what's happened, and we are getting our variables overheads at £2.50 per hour, and so you have £2.50 times 2,000 hours, which is £5,000. So you have fixed overheads as well. Add those two together, so you have 170,020, if you like, in terms of your total for your production overheads. Yeah, great. And that, if you like, is a good summary of this area. This will come, and I've seen it before. When we get to the exams, you'll see it. It's popular, and so it's important to make sure you're comfortable with that. So just literally go through this whole process. This is good because I've worked through Washington. Now you can work through. Oh, this is. Oh, actually, this is a very different. Actually, no, I know what's going on here. I remember this. You now have Jefferson. That's right. So Jefferson is what looks like Washington. So you can now do, I'm going to go through 48 anyway, but you can now do, now that we've done 47, you can now do 49. Yeah, and that's it. So great, you can do 49 as well. Key questions to see if you understand the process. Cool, great stuff.